am Dr. Isela Garcia, and welcome to Early Childhood Learning Bites. I'm super excited to talk with you all about social and emotional development, and I kind of feel like I need to get this understanding of what that is out on the front end of this. So I literally am going to just kind of give you the list of what it means, social emotional development means, and then we're going to get into some real talk about it. So in terms of social emotional development, we're looking at identity of self in relation to others, social and emotional understanding. So what am I feeling? Relationships and social interactions with familiar adults, relationships and social interactions with peers, symbolic and sociodramatic play. And then we move into approaches to learning, which is part of that self-regulation process. And it's curiosity and initiative in learning, self-control, feelings and behaviors. So I'm going to tell you, this is what you're supposed to know. Okay, and I want you to know this. Go know it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to break it down in a way that has helped me understand social and emotional learning and development. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to break those two things down because I think, and you know what, I'm going to just be honest with you. This is the way that I have made sense of things. Most of my experiences working with families in crisis circumstances and circumstances that pose a risk to their children. We need to start having conversations around, who we are and the impact of our beliefs and our experiences and how we're even making sense of children's social and emotional learning and development. So I want to begin with just an understanding or reflection, my reflection, and I'm going to just take you for the ride, what social and emotional development is, okay? So let's talk about social and emotional development. Now, this is how it makes sense to me. And this is how I continue to approach this deeper understanding of children's growth, learning, and development. Now, social and emotional development happens even without our intentional effort. Okay. And what I mean by this is that in the best of circumstances, when children have loving, consistent caregivers who recognize that this cry means this and that they're feeling frustrated and we're so there to support their emotional state and to help them move through the experience when they have that, right? They develop these healthy foundational skills that really become the foundation for the rest of their lives. It becomes that this framework because the first 5 years are that critically important. And when they do have that sense of safety and security and loving connection that is consistent from their caregivers, we see amazing foundations that continue to impact, their early experiences in school, and then they move into high school, and then they move into life. And we see the incredible nature of that. And the opposite is true as well. So children that don't have loving, consistent caregivers where they don't feel safe and secure, we see the negative implications of that. We see that as they move into elementary school and high school and beyond. We see that the impact of social and emotional development is lifelong. And so we have to start to recognize the importance of this. But I will tell you that social and emotional development, like how children develop emotionally and socially, are deeply rooted in who we are and how we show up each day and how we express love and connection. And all of those things are critically important to the healthy development of a child. We have to begin with who we are and how we're showing up. So I want you to think about this. As for the next 2 weeks, because we're going to drop these videos every 2 weeks, I want you to think about a couple things. I want you to think about what is emotional development? What is your understanding of emotional development? I just ran down the list of here, and we're going to break these down in a way that I think you can embrace them a little bit more, because sometimes when we get a lot of jargon and big words thrown at us, we're like, okay, how does this make sense? We're going to break it down. Okay, we're going to break it down in a way that I'm hoping you'll be able to go, ah, I get it. Like I understand this now. But I want you to think just from jump, I want you to think, what is children's emotional development? So when you're working with children, whatever age you're working with, look at them and go, how is this child expressing themselves as an individual? How are they expressing their emotions? What does that mean to me? How do I make sense of this? And how am I responding to those emotions? Okay. And the next is also true. I want you to think about social development. So, there's so many misconceptions around social development, and the same is true for emotional development. But in social development, I think what happens is we'll see two children playing near one another and it looks like they're playing together, and they may exchange like the bucket and the pail, or they may be playing with Tonka trucks and they, park the trucks together. Like, it looks like they're playing together. So we make this assumption that these two children are really good at developing friendships, right? But when you pay close attention, they're really just playing next to each other. They're doing what we call parallel play. They're playing side by side with one another. And that's how 3 and 4-year-olds work. They're like, you like the swing? I like the swing. Let's go swing together. That's very different than getting into this deep level of understanding, as deep as we can get with little kids, understanding of what it means to be in relationships with others. So there are children and adults who are good at making a friend, but keeping a friend is a whole nother ballgame. And so I want you to take a close look at how your children are socially engaging with one another. And it's not just relationships, it's how they interact, it's how they communicate. It's just how we function in a world with other people. Like, watch that from an observer lens. So just notice it. I'm a consultant now. I was an infant toddler teacher. I was a preschool teacher. Actually, I started as a floating assistant teacher many moons ago. And I'm a consultant now. So when I go in and I'm talking about social emotional learning, the very first thing, and I think I shared this at the front end of this video, the very first thing people want to tell me is, I have this kid. As a consultant, one of the things that I get more than anything else when I talk about social and emotional learning or social and emotional development and learning is, I have this kid. Always. We want to talk about behaviors that are challenging to us. Now, I want to make note, I did not say challenging behaviors, and we're going to talk about why that term is something we kind of need to just toss. Okay, it's not challenging behaviors. What is challenging to you and what is challenging to me is going to be very different. Okay, we come with our own lived experience. We come with our belief systems. And that's the next thing I want to talk about is belief. What we believe. What we believe plays such an important part in how we observe things, how we think about children, how we approach situations, and even how we behave and interact with children, our beliefs. Okay, what we believe. Now, there is a level that we are unconscious of. There's a level that we are unaware of, and we cannot tap into it easily because it is at the deep subconscious level. Okay, but there are definitely things that we recognize that I learned this from home. I am irritated because the message I got about this, that, and the other was this, and this is why it just, right? I get frustrated. And so one of the things that I want you to do over the course of these 2 weeks is I want you to notice behaviors that are challenging to you. Okay, so if it's someone who is hitting, if it's someone who is biting, if it's someone who is tantruming, if it's someone who is being exclusive and not letting somebody play, that's mine. That's mine. That's mine. So that and whining is a trigger for me. Like, I recognize that when a child whines, something inside of me, like the backs of my hair, my back, they like stands up, and I'm like, ugh. And let me tell you why. That was something that was not tolerated when I was a child. It was not tolerated to whine or to complain. And I needed to stop that very quickly. And so now as an adult, these messages that were very clear to me, what is appropriate and what is not appropriate, now translate, unless we have become very conscious of it and aware of it, They translate into what we're observing and how we're making sense of it and how we behave and how we respond or react if it is something that, you get really irritated by. And so we have to start to uncover that. What are your beliefs? So when you see a child doing something that you find challenging, because this is about how you're interpreting the situation, you see something, I want you to go, well, did I ever get a message about that? Now, it could have been at home, and it could have been from a professional development session that you went to that somebody said, this is what's acceptable and this is what is not acceptable. It could totally be that. It could be a conscious decision that you made, maybe as a parent. This is what I'm going to do. This is what is not acceptable, blah, 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 blah. But I want you to become aware. When it's happening, and it may be in the moment, you're so in the moment and you can't. And we're going to work on that. I promise we're going to work on that. But it's even like hours later or on your drive home, or if you're doing family childcare and you're cleaning up at the end of the day, just think about that. What message, if any, or what beliefs do I have about that particular behavior? I'm telling you right now, we cannot truly support children's social and emotional development when we are coming with these types of beliefs that get in the way of being open-hearted and fully present for the children that we are serving, the children that we are caring for, the children that we are showing up to love each day. Okay? So that's your homework. What does emotional development look like? And really pay attention to that. What is it? What's happening? How are children expressing themselves? What does social development look like? And how are children engaging within that? And when you find a behavior that is challenging to you, is there a reason for that? Is it something that you believe about what is acceptable and what is not acceptable? What messages have you heard? Okay? And we're going to come back, right? We're going to come back together and we're going to keep doing this work together.